Old St. Paul's, Edinburgh. Old St. Paul's is an historic church of the Scottish Episcopal Church in the heart of Edinburgh's Old Town in Scotland. It is one of the original congregations of the Scottish Episcopal Church, part of the Anglican Communion, which evolved with the adoption of Presbyterian governance by the established Church of Scotland. Its congregation originally formed a breakaway group from the city's Saint Giles Cathedral. History. Although the present building dates from the 19th century, Old St. Paul's has a history going back 300 years to the beginning of the Scottish Episcopal Church. The original congregation of Old St. Paul's was a breakaway group from Saint Giles Cathedral, which had become the Cathedral of Edinburgh in 1634. The last bishop at Saint Giles, Alexander Rose, left the cathedral in 1689 accompanied by much of his congregation. He founded a new place of worship in an old wool store in Carriber's Close. This lies close to the present site of Old St. Paul's. Many Episcopalians remained pro-Jacobite during the Jacobite Rising of 1689, loyal to James and his descendants. Members of St. Paul's were involved in the Jacobite struggle, including the risings of 1715 and 1745. One member of the congregation brought the news of Bonnie Prince Charlie's victory at Prestonpans to Edinburgh, shutting the town gates against the defeated Hanoverian army. As a result of the risings, Episcopalians and their places of worship were persecuted under law. It was only after the death of Charles Edward Stuart, Bonnie Prince Charlie, in 1788, that the association of Episcopalians with Jacobitism was shaken off. Penal laws were gradually repealed, and in that year the Scottish Synod resolved that George III would be prayed for in all Episcopal churches. Building. The present building was designed by Hay and Henderson in the early English style at a cost of £3,500 and was completed in 1883. Hay had been a pupil of Sir Gilbert Scott, architect of St. Mary's Episcopal Cathedral in the West End of Edinburgh. 2. Subsequent nave extensions have trebled the building's original length, and the chancel floor has been raised and laid with marble. The high altar is made of carved oak in Neo-Norman style with grapevine decoration surmounted with a slab of porphyry. 7 lamps represent the gifts of the Holy Spirit. The reredos is in gilded oak and was designed by Hay and Henderson in 1896. The lancet windows depict the crucifixion, with St. Paul and St. Columba on either side. The roof of the nave is a hammer beam structure with wooden gargoyles. The pulpit is made of carved oak with figures of saints and was built in 1892. A memorial chapel, Warriors Chapel, was built in 1926 as a memorial to the lives lost in the First World War, designed by Sir Matthew Ochterlony. This was organized by the then rector, Canon Albert Ernest Laurie, 1866–1937. It contains rolls of honor from both world wars. This chapel also contains the Martyr's Cross, a small iron cross that originally hung in the grass market opposite the gallows, and was the last object seen by condemned criminals before execution. The chapel ordinarily houses a painting by Alison Watt, a Scottish artist. Sculpture. At the head of the Calvary stair is a sculpture of the Crucifixion by Alfred Frank Hardiman, completed in 1926. The organ. The present organ was built by Father Henry Willies and installed in 1888. Slight modifications were made to this instrument in 1936. It was electrified and enlarged in 1960 when a new console with tab stops was provided. Further tonal modifications and additions were made in 1968. The church hall. Beneath the church is a sizable hall. During the Edinburgh Fringe, the hall is transformed into the space at Venue 45 by venue operators the Space UK.